Hello, everyone, and welcome to MCU Explained. I'm Susan.
I'm Tab.
And we have been off for a couple of weeks, but we are back with a vengeance with now episode five of
Yeah.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Now, we are going to keep to the events of this episode timeline wise, but there are a couple of things that we are going to backtrack on from the episodes that we missed, mostly because we either think it has to do with what's going to happen in the finale of this show, or it has something to do with the larger MCU that we are becoming a part of. And it's very, very obvious how much this particular show is tying in, and actually, WandaVision did too, tying into the bigger MCU. So let's get started.
Okay, so first, we saw Madripoor, which is an important location, mostly to Wolverine.
Yeah.
And they couldn't use it. It's so tied to Wolverine that Marvel Studios couldn't use it until they had the Fox properties. So that's why we're seeing it now. A lot has happened there. And again, mostly with Wolverine, he goes there to be a mercenary and when he wants to get away, and sometimes there's a bunch of vampires there.
There's isn't that where he took Jubilee when Jubilee was a vampire?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But what's interesting about them bringing it in now is that we find out later that the island is actually on the back of a giant dragon. The Hand awakens. And that's a very important plot in Shang-Chi's history. So Madripoor also important to Shang-Chi, and we know that that is coming up very soon.
I'm so excited about that. It's not even I was actually thinking of I know I'm in the Sanctum, but the closer we get to Shang-Chi, I might have to swap out, because also that movie takes place in the town I grew up in as well. He's distinctly in San Francisco. So it's very, very exciting to me personally. So I might have to switch out to a Shang-Chi based location as we get closer to that movie.
That makes
and
sense.
Then come back to the Sanctum, because then after that it's multiverse.
And then I'll lightly touch on, we are going to talk about Sharon. That we've gotten a lot of questions about what's Sharon up to, who's she working for, or what's going on with Sharon. So we are going to talk about that. And then all the stuff with the Global Repatriation Council has been really sketchy to me. Even the commercials, there was that commercial for it that was kind of weird.
Yeah.
And then we find out they're hoarding resources and all that. So I'm wondering if at some point, maybe even not yet, we're going to find out that there's something else going on with them other than just we're here to help the people who came back.
Yeah, there definitely is something bigger going on with them. And I'm wondering if, and I mean, the opening of this episode was basically John Walker being it was not an honorable discharge, but not a dishonorable discharge. So I'm not military, so I don't understand that, but I do know that a couple of our viewers are distinctly military, so maybe they can help me understand what that particular discharge means, because I know there's a dishonorable, and they distinctly didn't say those words. They just said not an honorable.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It was
either.
Strange to me. But also I wonder what information he has on that, because he did come out of their vans a couple of times in the previous episodes. So I'm wondering if maybe John Walker has some information that maybe people don't want more people to know.
That's interesting.
And
especially seeing who meets up with him in this one, but
Yes, we'll get to that, especially because of the cameo that happened in this one.
So this episode is called Truth, which I have to believe is a reference to the comic I keep talking about, Truth, Red, White, and Black.
Mm-hmm.
Because we see Isaiah again, and that's his comics. It's about him. Mm-hmm. But the very first thing we see is John Walker running from the scene of his horrible crime, where he maybe decapitated that man, unclear, bashed his head in for sure.
definitely very much maimed the like skull of that person, whether or not he decapitated them or not. They're not alive anymore. And he
Yeah.
did it with the shield.
Yes, he sure did. And we get some good close-ups of him where you can see he's obviously going through some sort of PTSD, some sort of mental trauma,
For sure.
not dealing with his friend dying obviously well, because you don't just rage smash a man's head in.
Right.
And then also not dealing, I think, with what he did. he he never seemed like a good guy. We've never talked about him like he's a good guy, but I definitely think he snapped from where he was.
Oh, for sure. I really love hating him.
Mhm.
Like I love hating John Walker, and Wyatt Russell is doing such an excellent job of like what a great actor. I'm
Yeah.
sorry for all those people who just like want to hate on like we can't hate on him because the fact that we hate John Walker so much that like literally I'm texting Tab all the like diseases I want him to get during the episode that like he's doing such a great job of making us hate him that you have to commend those types of skills because he's doing it in like to be honest kind of a subtle way because
Yeah.
he's not being over the top. He's being very much like there are times especially in the past two episodes where he's talking to Lamar where he's actually quite relatable, but then
Mhm.
he just makes all these stupid decisions and you're like, okay, well I freaking hate you again. So like anytime he comes over to the redemption or like starts to make it like take steps in that way, how far gone he goes in the other way that you're just like you have to commend those acting skills to be able to like do that. Like, oh, maybe he's not total. Oh no, he's totally terrible. He's the fucking worst. I'm like, no, and then nope,
Yep.
fucking
Nope.
hate him. He's the worst.
The worst. I love that, and I am a big fan of villains that have sort of a gray area, and we
Mhm.
have three of them, maybe four, in this one show where they're just different parts of the scale of, oh, you're not wrong about this, but you're doing it the wrong way, or you're very wrong about this, but you're right about some other, like, just.
And to be honest, that's also the types of villains we had in WandaVision too.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know?
I think it's important to show those villains, especially with the way things are in society,
Yeah.
the society we live in,
Hmm.
uh, that no one. It's rare for someone to be truly all bad or truly all good.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
And
we
we
can't all
have
be
to,
Steve Rogers.
yeah, we don't have a Steve Rogers right now. So, man, do
So
I miss him though. Wait, like this show, way to get us to like just totally miss Steve.
yeah, you feel it a lot through Sam and Bucky.
Hmm.
So we have our big fight. Then this is the cold open. We haven't even gotten to the title of the show yet. Falcon and Winter Soldier catch up with John Walker and they say, "Give me the shield." And John Walker says, "You don't want to do this." And Bucky says, "Yeah, we do," because he
Yeah.
is mad.
Yeah.
So what I have here are some fight highlights. One is Bucky punching the shield over and over and over with his middle arm. uh, Falcon did a kickflip using his like rocket pack to kick the shield away from Bucky.
Hmm.
Joan Walker saying, "Why are you making me do this?" Like some sort of abusive ex-boyfriend. And here's one in the holy shit, that was cool for John Walker, him ripping off Falcon's wings with his bare hands. I mean, I don't want him to do it, but it
Yep.
was very cool.
Yeah. So one question, wait, are you done with the highlights?
No.
Okay.
The one right after that is that he raised the shield, and I guess he was gonna kill Sam.
Right? The same way he like, and it was in the same way he killed that guy in the last. What?
And Bucky stops him, of course, but like man, Walker's lost it.
Mm-hmm.
I love that getting the shield off took them both, and they had to break his arm to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also love the final shot of the fight, which is them just slamming into him from both directions, and they all fall on the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you missed a question that I had during the fight, which is Bucky's arm getting electrocuted at some point, which was
Yeah, it
strange.
seems like it shorted out.
Yeah, like he got thrown and then his arm shorted out. Is that something that can happen? Because we haven't seen his arm short out before.
We
And
haven't,
if
but this is the Wakandan arm, which means it's
right.
probably got quite a bit more tech in it than his previous arm.
And then even it being shorted out, I mean, it didn't seem to last very long because it really just took however long it took him to regain consciousness to like reboot.
Yeah,
But
it
I
was.
thought that was a strange little tidbit to throw in there, like just the shorting out of the arm.
It would. It. I think it'll be more clear, and maybe even setting up for him fighting someone who uses electricity.
Mm. Okay.
We're
Okay.
not. We don't really know when he's going to show up again. We have no ideas yet of his next thing.
That's true. We do know that Sebastian Stan had like one of the longest contracts when he signed it out of like in terms of like picture deals, which is one of the reasons everyone thought he was going to be the next Cap, is because his picture deal had like an insane amount of movies on it, like more than a lot of the other people.
Yeah, and I actually assume, or I think it's safe to assume he's in Black Panther 2.
Oh, yeah. I think
Yeah.
that's safe to assume also, especially after losing Chadwick. We're gonna need people to kind of like ally with
Mhm.
the legacy, and Bucky's definitely a character that can do that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure he'll be there, but that said, he could be in literally any number of the upcoming shows
Yeah.
and
And
movie.
Multiverse of Madness, I mean, I feel like that one's all hands on deck. Like,
I'd be surprised if there wasn't if in multiverse there isn't at least like alternate universe Bucky that's still the Winter Soldier.
yeah.
It would be surprising.
Yeah. Oh man, just think of like all the progress Bucky's made just even in this show, and this Bucky having to meet that Bucky.
Yeah, like Nebula versus her former self.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
heartbreaking.
So the end of that fight, Bucky takes the shield and he gives it to Sam and he leaves.
Yeah.
Bucky does not take the shield for himself. He gives it back to Sam, and that got me a little emotional.
Oh yeah, because he knows that Steve wanted Sam to have it, and at this point, it's all it reminded me, I'm not gonna lie, it reminded me of Tony, like in Endgame when Tony's just like, like don't lose this again, and like it just kind of that's immediately what I thought of was Tony giving the shield back to Steve, just like don't ever lose this again. Or
Yeah.
don't give it up again, or whatever that line is, but that's what it reminded me of. Like it was just to me like a nod of this belongs to you, like don't make the same mistake twice.
Yep, this is yours.
Yeah.
And then we get a shot of Sam cleaning the blood off the shield, clearly blaming himself for what happened. Lots of regret.
That was heartbreaking too.
Yeah. And more wonderful non-vocal acting from Anthony Mackie, just crushing it.
Mm-hmm.
So then we find out that the GRC have been conducting raids looking for Carly. They're arresting her followers. They can't find her. Taurus is there to sort of brief Bucky and Sam on what's going on, but Bucky leaves and Sam says, "Are you off to take care of Zemo?" And Bucky doesn't answer, which is Bucky's answer.
Yeah.
That's how he answers.
Yeah, that's how Bucky answers questions.
So since the John Walker Captain America incident is such a huge international disaster, obviously the higher ups are now taking jurisdiction over him and what happens next. So Sam,
Always great
always
when
great.
that happens.
Yeah.
The government taking over is always a great idea.
So basically, Sam is benched and he just has to wait.
Mm-hmm.
And Taurus even says to his, sometimes there's nothing to do until there's something to do, which is a great, great reminder, I think, for everyone.
For sure, especially now.
So Taurus is looking at the broken Falcon wings, asking questions, which Sam doesn't answer. And then Sam tells Taurus he can keep them and leaves. And that, friends, is the setup for the new Falcon, because as we said, he is Falcon in the comics. So I assume that that will come up pretty soon.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I'm very excited, especially since that means that logically, he will be working with Sam.
With Sam. And then we have, I love the representation right there as
Yes.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We cut to DC, John Walker's trial, where he is stripped of everything, title, authority, an other, like you said, an other than honorable discharge.
Yeah.
He pushes back. He's mad. Walker is. Basically saying he is what they made him. And he is.
He is.
He is. I don't have a lot of sympathy for him because he made some bad decisions, obviously.
Right.
But there is something to be said here, and something that they have been showing us. Like, one of the themes of the show has been how badly veterans are treated, with very little understanding or like room or anything.
Yeah. And while there is some personal accountability, you know, for decapitating someone on like and being with the Captain America shield being
Right.
the symbol of America after it's like super PR publicly announced how much you are America's symbol, there is something to be said also on the other hand about like picking someone who is a perfect soldier, because another theme of the show is the contrast of Steve being a good man versus the perfect soldier. Like, Steve wanted so badly to be a soldier, but at the end of the day was a good man. Now, picking the soldier, you wind up with someone who is trained with a military background and has all the flaws of that, as well as the strengths, all of the strengths that come with all of that. But he makes a bad decision and then can fall back on blaming the military when at the end of the day, it was a personal decision you made in a personal moment of personal pain. So where's the balance there? Who is actually responsible? That's, again, a huge gray area that this show has dealt with so well, because John Walker saying you are what, like, I am what you made me. He's not wrong. He's not but the government not taking accountability for that, and then John Walker not taking accountability for decapitating someone very publicly with the symbol of our country.
Yes. They tell him, because he walks out, as he's walking out, they tell him to return the shield to us with expedience. He doesn't have it. They don't know, I guess. It's also not theirs.
I loved, we'll get to that, but
yeah.
I love that particular line.
So Walker is talking with his wife, and here comes the cameo, which, if you're in Marvel subreddits or Twitter stuff or whatever, you knew that there was going to be a big surprise cameo this week.
It was Doctor Strange.
It was no, it was Julia Louis-Dreyfus, which I have to say I never expected in a million years, and delighted me beyond belief.
I was so delighted. Though I do have to say, whoever updated the character page, Val's character page on Wikipedia, literally 10 seconds after she walked on screen, gets a big middle finger from me, because I instantly went to, I cannot pronounce her gigantic name. That's going to be on
Valentina Allegra de Fontaine.
Yeah, I was like, Val/Lady Hydra.
Yeah.
I instantly Googled Lady Hydra because I knew that name equaled Lady Hydra. And it already said in the new, like in the media, that section of Wikipedia, it already said Julia Louis-Dreyfus is playing her in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and I was pissed because I was like, dude.
I love this. There's this new trend though that's happening now, which is they're casting comedic actors as villains, and I love that because Katherine Hahn, a very comedic actress, playing Agatha Harkness. Yeah. And that was a surprise for me too, that she was playing a villain. And now we have Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who is like the comedy actress.
Yeah.
Here as Val, as Susan says, Lady Hydra, Madam Hydra. She in the comics starts off as someone who's in S.H.I.E.L.D. and actually dates Nick Fury for an extended period of time. So I am hoping to keep that little bit of history for when she eventually has to interact with him.
Them behaving as exes. I'm dying for that. Dying.
And Marvel fans are used to this sort of like character introduction. You can tell that this is like, we're introducing this character for something later. You're going to see her later because this is just a very short scene. And they've already said like, oh, she shows up soon. She shows up again soon. So in one of the upcoming things that's in the pipeline, we should get to see her again.
So how cool would it be? Because we know that the Loki TV show is going to play with time. How cool would it be to see a young Nick being S.H.I.E.L.D. agents together?
Oh, I would love that.
Right?
Yeah. Some speculation that also she might be in Black Widow and that she was originally going to be introduced there because that was supposed to be first, which means if she's in that, it's an even shorter. Like it's one of the ones where, you know, like at the end of Iron Man when Fury shows up and he's like, I need to talk to you. And it would be her showing up probably for Taskmaster and saying, I want to talk to you. Because guys, we are headed towards that villain team and she is likely running it.
That's going to be epic. And just think of, because also at the end of WandaVision, we had, you know, Monica being called up to presumably Fury. So we're seeing recruitment on both sides.
Yes, recruitment on both sides. I'm so excited that there's going to be a villain team. So she talks to Walker, Val does, and she tells him that he did the right thing taking the serum. A lot of people are interested in working with him now. A lot of people want to meet him and like think he did a great thing. The government doesn't. What?
Classic hype up.
And then she also says the government doesn't own the shield, which no, they don't.
I love that. I love that line. Because I was like,
and I'm sure you knew, like I did, that the government didn't own the shield anyway.
Right.
But, so that when they said return the shield, I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah. It's like, no, they don't, that's not their shield. It never was their shield.
Her business card is blank, which is hilarious. And she'll be in touch. And she leaves. So there's Val, Madam Hydra.
Mm-hmm. Stop calling her Lady Hydra. I know that's wrong, but we're all imperfect.
Lady Hydra, Madam Hydra. I mean, they might. I mean, and they also refer to her as the Contessa. Like she has a bunch of alter ego names, nicknames. Okay, and then now we see Carly. She's at one of the camps that the GRC already raided and shut down. She's very upset, and she says, how many times do we have to pay with our lives just to be citizens of this goddamn planet? Again, Carly's not wrong.
Yeah, all the feels there.
But she is not handling it well.
And going about it. Getting increasingly more sloppy.
Yeah, and I keep thinking about Lamar saying previously that the serum just makes you more of who you are.
Yeah.
So it seems to have made John Walker more of a violent douche.
Yeah.
And Carly has an angry streak in her and is pulling it out because you can't stop her now.
Yeah. And that's upsetting to think about.
Mm-hmm.
But also in general, it also makes me think back to Bucky, who also has like the serum version of it as well, and how guilty he feels, and how that is always a main point around him, and the sadness and around him. And it just like makes me go, oh, like before you were injected with the serum of the Winter Soldier, you were just like kind of like a covering up, charming, but actually quite dorky little guy, just like Steve. Like there's a reason that you and Steve were friends, even though you had the like joie de vivre, like ladies man thing going. It was a cover because really you just were like adorable.
Yeah.
Bucky.
Bucky. Speaking of Bucky, we go to Sokovia. Zemo's at the memorial. Of course he is.
Of course he is.
He already brought it up once.
Mm-hmm.
And Bucky joins him. And Zemo says to him, "Don't worry, I've decided I'm not going to kill you." And Bucky says, "Imagine my relief." Zemo, again, one of a villain that is not totally bad. Shades of gray on Zemo. But I think he's being sincere. He had decided he was going to get rid of all the super soldiers. It actually is a big deal, I think, that he tells Bucky, "I've decided not to kill you."
Right.
Because that means he's decided that Bucky is more similar to Steve than the other super soldiers.
Right.
Yeah. And that's right.
Yeah.
He did stuff he didn't want to do. They made him.
Yeah, for sure. And again, Zemo's hilarious too, because it's like he's another one of those villains that, God, did they make us like him?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're really not supposed to like Baron Zemo at all.
I like him
He's
so
not a good dude and caused a lot of problems, including being an accessory to helping with the Thanos situation, if you think about it, like really.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So you're just really not supposed to like him. And boy, was he likable in this show.
He's much more like a Loki type than a Thanos, let's say.
For sure. Much more of a Loki than like a John Walker.
Yes.
Or a Hayward.
Yeah. He's self-serving.
Yes.
And he believes in his own mission and ideals.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that aligns with what's true and right.
Yeah. So
he does continue to insist that Carly is radicalized beyond saving, and telling telling Bucky to do what needs to be done. And then Bucky pretends he's going to shoot him, but it's a fake out because here's the Dora Milaje. Zemo, surprised, but very calm, very understanding. He does not resist any of this. He says, "Hello, ladies." And then he tells Bucky that he took the liberty of crossing his name off in your book. And he says he holds no grudges for what you thought you had to do. Again, villain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Villain.
Classy villain, very classy.
I very much liked Zemo in this show so much. And the way he's portrayed is just, again, brilliant acting. Like, how on earth do you get people to like? Because if you think about it, like the one that we should think is like a spoiled douchebag is Zemo, not John Walker. Like, but really great acting, really great casting, really great writing. Like, so well done.
And the Dora are taking him to the raft, which is, we've seen before in Civil War. It's that floating prison where
Sam was on the raft.
What?
Ant-Man.
Sam was on the raft.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Hawkeye.
Sam, Hawkeye, Ant-Man. Yeah, but Steve busted them out, so it's not totally infallible as a prison, which means to me we're gonna put Zemo over here for now, and then we're gonna see him later.
Yeah. Hopefully he still has his purple mask.
Oh, I assume he put it somewhere for safekeeping.
Oh yeah, for sure. Maybe it's somewhere hidden near the Sokovia Memorial.
Io says to Bucky for him to make himself scarce in Wakanda for the time being, White Wolf. He, of course, understands. But he does ask for one more favor. And it cuts away. More. It's not really a favor for him.
Yeah, it wasn't a favor for him. It was, we'll get there.
And now we're back in Baltimore because Sam is going to see Isaiah Bradley again with the shield. And he bumps into Eli again, who is actually very nice about Sam being there to see his granddad. He's okay, way more okay with him going to see and talk to him than he was the first time.
Yeah. Sure.
Although he does say he'll be around just in case.
Mm-hmm.
You don't mess with his granddad. So Sam brought the shield and Isaiah does not want to see it. He wants nothing to do with that shield, and with good reason. Sam gets him to tell his whole story, which is different from the comics, but honestly not that different from the comics. A lot of the things, like them telling his wife he had died, yeah, they did that. She thought he was dead. All his whole company being shot up with different versions of the serum. Some were not stable. Some of them died immediately. Yep, all that. They got captured, and the military was just going to turn on that camp to hide the evidence. And Isaiah busted out and saved all of them, mirroring how Cap saved his men when they were captured. Only he received no punishment.
Mm-hmm.
And he even offered himself up for punishment because he's Steve Rogers, and no. But they used that as a reason to punish Isaiah and arrest him. And then they experimented on him because why did the serum work on him and not the others? Why did this version of the serum work? Honestly, the only like huge difference in this is that in the comics, when he goes to save them, he wears Cap's uniform, and that's what they use to arrest him. They say he stole government property. And then they fake his death so he can disappear. And even in the comic universe, only the Black characters actually know who Isaiah Bradley is. His identity is kept a secret, and he's just something that they sort of know about. And he shows up at Storm and Black Panther's wedding, and all the Black characters like pay him respect, and the white characters don't know who he is, except for Captain America, who does show up. Steve does show up in Truth, Red, White, and Black to hear his story, and a spoiler.
A spoiler?
I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't read it.
Okay. I'm not done with it yet, so that would be a spoiler for me. So there we go.
And this gives Sam a lot to think about, because Isaiah does say that they won't let there be a Black Captain America, but even if they did, no self-respecting Black man would ever want to be. And that hits Sam really hard. You see it on his face, like you feel it. And that is, he says later to Sarah, he understands, of course. Yeah. Of course, for Isaiah, it was a totally different experience than Sam's, and it's just, but it does fill him with like conflict. So, yeah. Why would you want to be?
Yeah. You can't be the symbol of a country that actively discriminates against you and puts system in play to keep you in poverty for generations. Like,
so Sam goes home. He calls his sister and he says he's coming home, and he goes home. So the next we see is this section of the episode that I've called Working on the Boat. There's some great stuff in here.
My new ship.
Your new ship.
My new ship. I ship Bucky and Sarah.
Oh, yeah.
I ship them so hard.
Sam will not allow it.
Sam will not allow it, but that's all the more reason Bucky will want to do it, and all the more reason Sarah will want to do it.
That's true. So Sarah says they can't sell the boat because it's too busted. No one wants to buy it. Sam calls in all his family favors. He calls them in as him, like as his parents' son, not as Sam Wilson the Falcon. And just asks for help. And this is a great example of community helping over government and capitalism, because the community comes together and brings him and Sarah what they need to fix the boat and helps.
Mm-hmm.
And then Bucky shows up and just starts lifting stuff and fixing stuff.
I love the like when he fixes the like valve, and he just knows how to do it after Sam doesn't. And he's like, why didn't you use your metal arm? And he's like, I don't think about it. I'm right-handed.
Yeah. And he brought Sam a big old case from Wakanda that we do not get to see what is in there yet.
So I want that case. You know
Yeah.
how like the second Iron Man had the suitcase suit,
Mhm.
everybody wanted that like suitcase.
Yeah.
And then like, you know, the Tesseract has a suitcase. There's like
Or
so
like
many
I want the Ant-Man rolling suitcase that's the building.
the Ant-Man roll. There's so many suitcases in the MCU. You could do a whole luggage collection merch-wise, like just with the different suitcases. I want this one. This is the
Well, I
first
would
one.
love a working suitcase of the building that just looks like the building, but I can actually pack it. I would love that.
Yeah, that would be great. I'm serious. I really think that this is a missed merch opportunity for Marvel. And if anybody from Marvel watches this, you should definitely have a line of suitcases. Maybe partner with Away or something like that, like one of those big brands, and just do some Marvel
Make
suitcases.
it happen.
Yeah, make it happen, guys. Why isn't this a thing yet?
So yeah, and then we
Do
have
a backpack, like a Carmitage backpack for when Steven yeah, see? This just writes itself, guys. Anyway, that's not what the show is about.
So oh, and then yes, Bucky flirts with Sarah and Sam makes a face.
I'm so happy about this. I ship them so hard.
Yeah.
Remember, we started this show with like, who would be good enough for Bucky? Now, nobody except Sarah.
Sarah. Only Sarah.
Only Sarah.
So as they're working on the boat, they're talking about business things like Carly. Bucky tells Sam that Zemo says there's only one way to stop her. Sam has Joaquin working on something, etc. And then at the end of the day, Bucky says, well, I guess I'll go to a hotel and get a flight tomorrow, and say, because Bucky doesn't know how to be friends with anyone.
I love Bucky so much. He's so socially inept that it's just brilliant.
Mm-hmm. He doesn't want to make it weird.
Yeah, but he's making it weirder by not wanting to make it weird. Like, I relate to that so hard.
Yeah. So, and Sam was like, stay with me, but don't flirt with my sister. And Bucky makes a great face at that, where he's like, yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Bucky working on the boat with Sam, staying with him, a very content, more relaxed version of Bucky.
Another thing to note is that Bucky doesn't sleep on the floor.
The floor. He sleeps on the couch.
He sleeps on the couch. He sleeps on something comfortable.
Yeah.
And does sleep.
Yes. Now we cut to Walker lying to Lamar's parents. I'm not even gonna say talking to, straight up lying about killing the person that killed their son. That's not what he did.
Mm-hmm.
He does say, I would never let the person who did that get away, which I think he means, but that's because he means to go after Carly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like, I assume that was Lamar's sister that was there with them, but it kind of seemed like she didn't believe Walker, which good for her. Good for her.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't believe him either.
Yeah. And then we're with Sharon, who has a job for someone on the phone, which is
who's speaking French.
It's Batroc. If you turn on the captions, it said Batrunk.
Oh, really? Okay.
Uh,
Well,
he's mad at her, but she got him out of an Algerian prison and she'll pay him double this time, so he'll do whatever she's asking him to do, I guess. All right, so we're back with Bucky, waking up on the couch, and seeing Sam's nephews playing with the shield.
again, Bucky, awesome stepdad.
Yeah, he smiles at them, they run away. Really cute. And then he goes to help with the boat some more because they're being friends. But Sarah shows up and is furious because Sam is messing with the water pump, which she told him not to do, and that it wasn't the problem, and she kicks them both off the boat, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah, I enjoyed that as well.
So now they're training with the shield, which is, I also call Sam and Bucky having a catch because they are passing it back and forth.
And they're speaking and understanding each other and listening. And yeah, it was also like, I called this like their therapy scene.
Yeah.
Because it was also that too. Where it's like, now we understand each other. Let's communicate directly and intentionally with like active listening. And like, it was just so much therapy in one scene.
Sam was a counselor, is a counselor.
Yes, that's the thing. And Bucky is a veteran.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And Bucky tells Sam, when Steve told me what he was planning, side note, they're confirming that Bucky knew what was going on when Sam went back in, or when Steve went back in time. So when he told him what he was planning, I don't think either of us really understood what it meant for a black man to be handed the shield. How could we? I owe you an apology. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Which is lovely. And Sam just says thank you. Which, yeah.
Because two white guys deciding a black guy should have a shield isn't necessarily the best or the most informed way to make that decision.
Yeah.
And Sam did what he thought was best for him at the time.
Absolutely. So they make up, and Bucky goes on to say that what happened with Walker wasn't your fault, which is good. And I think Sam needed to hear that. Because it wasn't.
It wasn't.
It wasn't.
He'd never have known what was going to happen. Honest to God, Sam thought that he was donating that thing to a museum.
Yeah.
He didn't think they'd turn around and use that like Steve's exact shield, because he donated it to the Smithsonian. Like he literally donated a like historical relic to a museum.
No, the government just takes it. And Bucky says that retiring the shield made him feel like he had nothing left, which,
yeah, I get that.
And then Sam is giving out some tough love even before he says, I'm going to give you some tough love, which is, this might be a surprise, but it doesn't matter what Steve thought. You got to stop looking to other people to tell you who you are. Great.
Yeah. I was like,
Bucky
cool.
didn't need to hear that.
Years. This is where I lost it twice in this episode. The first was during Isaiah Bradley's story, and the second was this time where it's like, you have to stop. I was like, God damn it.
And he tells him, and then his when he says, all right, now here's the tough love. And then he says, you weren't amending, you were avenging. Yep. And to go to the people that you need to make amends with and be of service. At least one person in the book needs closure, and you're the only one who can give it to them. We know who he's talking about.
Who that is. Yeah.
We know who that is. So I assume we'll see that next episode. Because they part ways. Bucky says to call him when he has a lead on Carly. And they say that they're not a team. They're professionals, partners, co-workers, a couple of guys with a mutual friend, but that friend's gone. So they're just a couple of guys. And they're adorable, and I love them.
They're adorable, and I love them. And literally, I watched a 14-minute video of the two of them being friends, like outside of the show, like just Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan being friends. Like,
yeah, they are so cute.
They're so cute, and I recommend watching this 14 minutes specifically for both of them analyzing the Cats trailer when it dropped.
Now Sam goes back to helping with the boat with Sarah because the last do is to paint over their parents' names if they're going to sell the boat. And Sarah stops him and says, "We can't sell it." And Sam is so happy and relieved, and he calls it their history. And Sarah gives him some tough love about Isaiah Bradley getting in his head.
Mm-hmm.
And Sam goes into a training montage. So he's getting used to using the shield.
I also like how badly the shield kicked his ass at the beginning of that montage too.
Yeah.
They like really showed, and in contrast to at the beginning of the show when they were showing clips of like, you know, media clips of John Walker using it so seamlessly, like obviously they were catered to a particular interview, and like the media obviously was showing the best versions of his training. And then to show Sam struggling with the shield, but like still, but what's so great is that you still see Sam doing these like kick-ass moves while he's struggling to like almost integrate the shield into how he like already knows how to fight. Yeah. So that was, I thought, a great thing, is not only did this show like a training montage, but it almost showed like the integration of the shield into Sam himself.
Yes, to make it part of him the way it was the part of Steve.
Yeah.
And it shows his normal training, because obviously he still runs and does push-ups and the other stuff. And did you catch that when he runs by his nephews, he says, "All day, man"?
I did not catch that.
Yeah, he says all day. All day. And you can see how much it means to his nephews that he's going to be carrying the shield.
Yeah.
Now, sidebar here, because I was on a very interesting Reddit thread, and like you mentioned earlier, we're not military people.
Right.
So
shocking, look at us.
This was a thread about how difficult it is to be in the position Sam Wilson was in the U.S. Special Forces, as a Special Forces pararescue man. The level of training, this person says, is like a combination of a Navy SEAL with an Army Airborne Ranger who also has medical training.
Oh, wow.
Their job is to find and give medical treatment to people in humanitarian crisis and behind the lines of combat. So it's an elite force, and it has some of the largest special forces training requirements in the whole world. It takes nearly 2 years to complete the basic training requirements to become a pararescueman. And then after those 2 years, you've only done the basics. Now you have to apprentice an existing squad and then go on special missions as needed. And the training goes on after that. But then you add in that Sam also has this incredible tech. They gave him this incredible tech. So he is the best of the best pararescue men to be given that. Wow. And
because it was also such top secret tech that people didn't know about it. Like when Steve was like, "I thought you were like a pilot."
Yeah, he is an elite, whose job was to rescue people. And then after that, he becomes a PTSD counselor, which also requires 2 years of training and commitment and all this other stuff. Like, so he spent at least, at minimum, 8 years learning how to save people, and devoting his whole life to that. So I bring this up because I think it's important to know that when you see Sam holding his own in a fight against John Walker, being able to fight these like big villains and these super powered people, there's a reason he can do it, and there's a reason he's so good at it.
Yeah. And there's, I know, been a lot of speculation on the internet as to whether or not Sam is going to take the serum himself.
He doesn't need it.
He doesn't need it, but if he were to take it and it enhances all the good thing, or whoever you are, it makes you more of that person.
Yeah.
Sam is empathetic. He's understanding. He's intelligent and caring. And everything about him is about saving people.
Yeah. He's
So
a good man.
he's another good man. And I personally don't think he's going to take it because he doesn't need to. He doesn't need it at all. But if there is a future where he needs to take it, he's kind of a safe bet.
Yeah. No, he's a safe bet for the serum, but he also said he wouldn't take it.
He also doesn't, he just absolutely doesn't need it.
No, he doesn't need it. And one of the things I've always liked about Sam is that in addition to him being very good at like hand-to-hand and fighting, he uses his wings and his jetpack so smart. The stunt coordinators for Birds of Prey talked about how they wanted the fighting to be as realistic as possible, and because of that, that's why Harley always has some sort of like blunt weapon, is because she can't take on those huge dudes without like something to help her.
Right.
He's tiny. So Sam, without the serum, has the wings and the jetpack, and he's using those to enhance what he's already good at.
Yeah. And now and that's another reason why this montage is so great, because that's integrating the shield into something he's already good at and something he already knows how to do.
And I cannot wait to see him with the shield and his wings, which is inevitably what's coming up. If you don't know, in the comics, he has both. He gets both.
You know that.
We do know that. I assume we will be calling him Captain America, but one of the reasons I sort of default to calling him Sam is we don't know for sure, but I assume he'll be Captain America.
I assume he will be too. And how just beautiful is that going to be?
Yeah, I'm really excited.
I'm really excited to be able to call Sam Captain America.
Yeah,
like
Cap.
Yeah, I'm trying. This isn't my cry show, Tab.
It's mine.
It's your cry show. Why am I crying?
Maybe, maybe neither of us will cry at Loki. Maybe.
I mean, I
I
cry.
don't know, he's gonna go into alternate timelines, so who knows?
We already saw a clip from the trailer where he's talking to Natasha. So like, come on. We're
speculated
Natasha, but come on, it's Natasha.
And then you already in the trailer, you can also see the version of New York where the Avengers didn't stop him.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna cry in Loki.
All right, well.
Owen Wilson might keep me from crying, like in those scenes.
Yeah, that's true.
He's not like a cry actor.
Okay, so now Carly has set up a meeting with Batroc. Everything about this meeting is suspicious to me.
Yeah.
Because Sharon called him to get him to go, but we don't know what's going on with her still. Carly wants to make sure the JRC vote never happens. And what the vote would be to move people back to their countries of origin. So anyone who moved during the blip to another country would have to go back. Batroc says he's only here to kill the Falcon. So
but it's not even the Falcon right now.
So that all lines up, I guess, with Carly. One of Carly's followers, not super down with them allying with
a mercenary
villain. And she's like, well, haven't you heard we are the bad guys? So.
And that was the point where I was like, Carly.
If they call me a bad guy, I'm going to act like a bad guy.
That's like not the right attitude to have in that situation.
Nope.
That's like, I mean, what a great villain origin story for her, though.
Yes, this is building up to a very nice story. I hope she does not get killed.
Yeah, agreed. I hope she does not get killed. I hope this is just the origin. And at the same time, I like those. She's one of my favorite types of villains. Those one bad day villains. Like, oh, you're gonna call me bad, then I'm gonna act bad. Like, come on, like you're not wrong. So like, do it the right way. Like, make the right call. Because you aren't wrong.
Together.
What she's talking about isn't wrong.
No, Sam almost had her. He almost had her if Dum Dum Walker hadn't bust in.
John Walker, man. This is why I send you a list of diseases that I want him to get every week.
So we cut back to Sam real quick because Joaquin is calling him, and what he was working on was the locations of the Flag Smasher pings that they're using their app for. They've all been in Europe, but guess what? Today there was one in New York. Sam already knows what's going on because he's watching the thing about the GRC. We cut to them arguing in the GRC chamber just as some Flag Smashers come in. And this is about to be a hostage situation, I assume.
Yeah.
And I kind of can't believe this was filmed before everything that happened in DC this year, but it was.
Yeah. I kind of can't believe that too, because it kind of seems like this would have been filmed after.
Yeah, this would have been filmed
like a little too hearkening, a little too real.
Yeah, a little too real. Sam opens the case from Wakanda, but we don't see. But guys, it's his new suit. Come on. People are like, what's in the case? It's his new suit. What else would it possibly be?
Yeah.
And I hope it has that cool Wakanda thing where it's all vibranium now and it can hold energy so he can like let that build up the way Black Panther does.
I hope there's a note from Shuri.
Of course she built Sam.
Of course Shuri personally built Sam's suit.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. And then we have our first mid-credit scene. So based on this in WandaVision, it seems like we start getting these in the second to last episode. Although I will continue to watch to the end of every episode just to be sure.
Yeah.
Shows, but it's seeming like a pattern now. And this scene is John Walker is building himself a new Captain America shield out of all his war medals. That's gonna go great for him.
Yeah, that seems like it's gonna work out real well for him.
The fun parallel here is that the screen was dark and we only had the hammering sound to begin with, a la Tony building the suit.
Yeah, Iron Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that same thing. Especially even the like clink, like that clink sound reminded me of Iron Man 1 in the cave, and I was like,
Yep, there's that sound.
And then I was like, I hate you.
He's real mad. He's gonna take all his medals and make them a Captain America shield. No one can tell him what to do.
But yes, sure. But also I feel like he's gonna fuck up whatever fight is about to happen.
Well, presumably he's going in after Carly, and Sam will be there in his new suit with the actual shield, and Bucky will meet him there because he said he would. And that's already...
I know, but also I really just don't want Walker to fuck things up. And he's gonna somehow.
He might kill someone important or mess something up pretty badly. He might kill Carly. I don't know. I'm hoping she's not a one and done character.
I hope she's not a one and done also. Because like I said, I really think this is a great villain origin story / we've been collecting these little villains over the course of these two shows, over here, over there, who are all anti-establishment, anti-superhero, super soldier. That would be great to have all these like little villains have a team with Madam Hydra in charge.
Yes. Although Carly, it will be interesting to see who ends up being on that team, because Carly is very opposed to John Walker, and Zemo is very opposed to both of them.
Fair.
Yeah. So we got a lot of what's up with Sharon questions. What's going on with Sharon? What's she doing? Kind of seems like she's the power broker.
It kind of seems like she's the power broker, which would be interesting because we don't really know who the power broker is. So to make it Sharon would be very interesting, especially if Sam does get her that pardon that he promised her. that would actually make her a bigger villain in the grand scheme of things, that then Captain America pardoned.
Yeah. Yeah. Very interesting, especially since, and we've said this before, in the comics, the characters within the comics don't ever know who Power Broker is.
Right.
It's very, very secret. So Sharon could essentially come back, if it's her, and live a double life where she's Sharon Carter, but she's also the Power Broker.
Knew I didn't like that girl.
I knew I didn't like that girl. Not good enough for Bucky.
I knew as soon as, she wasn't good enough for Bucky. There's something else going on with her.
It's interesting in that if this is what is going on with her, if Sharon has broke bad because of everything that happened, I would actually love to see more of her story from during the blip, because it can't have just been like an overnight thing.
Right.
At all.
And it honestly would be heartbreaking to see the, niece of Peggy Carter, founder of S.H.I.E.L.D., the love of Steve Rogers' life, become the Power Broker.
Yeah. And then there's also still the chance that she's deep undercover.
Mm-hmm.
There's even a chance that she's deep undercover as the Power Broker to get to something else.
It's true.
Yeah. So a lot of secrecy, something up with Sharon.
And if you think about it, just before we move on from this situation, the Power Broker is awfully obsessed with the super serum.
Yes.
In this specifically. Mm-hmm. So it could be almost like a protection thing as well, because if she does still have loyalty to her aunt and to Steve, then the serum would have like a very deep meaning to her, and she would be definitely pissed that Carly stole a bunch of it to use for like the flag smashers and the like whatever she's up to in that situation. Like if it's going to be used by like a vigilante type outside the law group, I feel like Sharon Carter, the Power Broker, would not be okay with that.
Yeah. And if that was the case, then I would assume her mission was like deep undercover to recover all of the serum.
Yeah. And yeah, that'd be fine too. That would also be super interesting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. She is a spy.
She is
just like Natasha. She's a spy.
And just she also spied on Steve.
Yeah.
So yeah.
She spied on Steve, and her aunt didn't even know she was assigned to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So she's a good spy. Which is why who knows?
Still not good enough for Bucky. That goes to Sarah.
That goes to Sarah. Lambkin Michael D says, "How cool if the Power Broker is the Red Skull," which has been theorized. But I think the Red Skull is kind of guarding the Soul Stone still.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I know what's up with the Red Skull.
Yeah, I don't know that the whole thing about like, oh well, Thanos destroyed them all. Does the Soul Stone ever really get destroyed? I have a lot of questions there, because it seems to just disappear until you throw someone you love off that cliff.
Also, I have a lot of questions that maybe we need to actually do an episode about this particular thing. Just the idea of Thanos destroying the stones in general doesn't really track.
He reduced them to atoms, so they still exist.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. That's a whole other episode for us.
Roaming Romanoff, are they setting up Torres as the next Falcon? Yeah, because he is in the comics. He super is. Yeah. Very exciting.
Yeah.
And then actually roaming Romanoff again. How long will it take for Walker's shield to fail miserably? I'm actually very curious about this as well, because he's still making it of some sort of metal.
Yeah, I'm very curious about this shield.
Yeah.
Like, because come on, like it's obviously not like vibranium or anything special, but it is
what we
like
know of.
But we don't know. I don't know.
The introduction of adamantium.
Yeah, I mean, maybe,
Yeah, I don't
but
know.
that'd be weird. Like, oh, the government's just been making metals out of adamantium for years now.
John Walker went to Madripoor. He obtained some adamantium.
Maybe it's made of unobtainium. And then the
Ooh,
Avatar universe
yeah,
gets folded in. And that's the dumbest thing ever.
it's all coming together.
It's all coming. Well, I mean, Avatar is somehow associated with Disney. There's like the Pandora land at Disney World.
That's
So
right. Look, I'm assuming that the
it's just
actual
so
shield.
weird.
I assume that the actual shield is going to hit the new shield, and the new fake shield is just going to explode.
Yeah, I actually think something very similar is going to happen. They're going to throw them at each other, and one's just going to pass through the other one, or like one's going to just shatter. The John Walker shield is just going to shatter in a spectacular way. Well, that is all we have for episode 5 of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Once again, I'm Susan.
I'm Tab.
And we are MCU Explained. And next week is the finale already. That's crazy. I mean, I personally think that this was maybe a little too short. Like I could have done with another episode, but I trust the MCU. I'm sure that the finale is going to be absolutely perfect and wrap up everything that we need wrapped up. So all of our social media is in the description below. You can follow us on all major platforms. Like us, subscribe to us, share our stuff. We love to hear from you. So please put more questions in the comments, and we will see you in the next video.